to create a creative add-on, you go to the trafficking drop-down and you will see the creative add-ons option. There's the ability to create creative add-ons either under specific advertisers or underneath an account, and you will see the reasons why you may want to create it either at the account level or at an advertiser level when we dive into what is included. A creative add-on covers two types of items that you may want to add on to a creative. These are third-party JavaScript URLs and also impression tracking pixels. So to create a creative add-on, you will click New Creative Add-on. You will name your creative add-on. You can choose whether you want it at the account level or at an advertiser level. If it is associated with one of the vendors that Beeswax have registered here, you can select one. If it is a custom one to your individual use case, you can simply leave this vendor field blank. What type of creative you're planning to use this creative add-on with, banner, video or native. And here is where you will select whether it's either a third-party JavaScript URL or an impression tracking pixel. A couple of examples of these would be a viewability pixel. So some examples of vendors would be Integral Ad Science or Moat. Also, verification vendors can provide these, and then also what we will see when we look at adding this onto the creative, add choices is also a type of creative add-on. So once you've selected what your type of add-on is, pixel or script, you will paste in the URL here. If this creative add-on has a cost associated to it, you will input this here, and it will mean that any billable cost that is associated with this creative will be tracked. Very similar to all objects in the UI, you can input an alternative ID, which allows you to map alternative naming to systems outside of Beeswax. This feature is where it becomes important whether you make a creative add-on at an advertiser level or an account level. You have the ability to toggle between yes and no to include this creative add-on by default. That would be any new creative that you add into the platform. This creative add-on will automatically be added on to the creative. So if you have creative add-ons specific for one advertiser and you always want it to be included on specific advertisers, then we would advise you to create the creative add-on under that specific advertiser. And to save you from having to add it on manually every time you upload the creative, you can simply toggle to include by default. This will mean that this creative, either pixel or script, will be automatically added on to every creative underneath that advertiser. You can choose between secure and insecure and active and inactive. So setting up the creative add-on is very simple and it can save a lot of time. It's simply a click addition rather than the standard copy and paste. So let's jump over to a creative and see where these creative add-ons are associated. So I'm just going to choose the image example. So once your creative is uploaded, if you've chosen to add it by default, the creative add-on will already be associated. If you only want to add on a creative add-on to certain creatives and not all of the creatives, you can do this manually, and you will find it under the Pixel and Scripts tab. So if you're just copying and pasting pixels, you will do it either if it's a impression pixel or a JavaScript pixel, you would copy and paste them here. So to save you from having to copy and paste every time, if you create it as a creative add-on, it will appear in this list drop-down, and you can simply select it every time, and so you don't have to dig out the script or the pixel URL and copy and paste it every time. So it definitely saves time. There's a couple of standard creative add-ons that you will see available to you, which you will not need to recreate. They're available out of default to you. And these are the IAS banner tag and the Moat banner tag. These are both viewability vendors. So by adding these, you'll be able to track viewability post-bid. That's once you've bid and won an impression. These pixels will then record the viewability, so then you can log the viewability. One thing to note is if you're using Moat, viewability metrics will be included in your win logs. If you're using IAS, you will have to use a specific IAS reporting. Add Choices icon is also available, and we have different places that you can choose, whether that's top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left. And this is the place that you're going to insert that Add Choices icon. This is really good because depending on what creative you have and where your messaging is, it ensures that the Add Choices icon never disrupts the creative messaging or covers up any important information on your creative. So that's it with the creative add-ons. It's a really simple time saver, and it's a really effective way for you to track additional information on your creatives.